Greetings. Let's talk. If there is one conversation in the SCA that I don't want to say is unique, but oh my God, we are majority share of this conversation within the non-strictly historical crowd. Non-historian crowd, I should say. It is heraldry. It is how did we choose our arms? What arms are we going to choose? Did you see so-and-so's arms? It's just part and parcel of the SCA. It's part of our ecosystem. And especially now, really with the digital age, more people are using their heraldry as social media avatars in their signature lines for SCA-related emails. On stationery, on business cards. So heraldry, historical and historically based heraldry, is getting a lot of traction and a lot of use, which is good. That's what we want to see. But that does lead to some other questions about how do we choose our heraldry? How the heck do we pick, because historically you didn't pick heraldry, you inherited it or you purchased it. There are some examples where you go in and talk to the court herald about, new arms or combining arms, but the vast majority of heraldry was not really thought out that much. It was you inherited it from your father or you got it from your wife if you managed to purchase or managed to marry up, something like that. So we in the SCA really are kind of in a unique position of choosing our own arms. How do we do that? And like I said in my names video, there's no one path. There's not even really a prescribed path. There's the loosest set of framework. But what I want to do here, like I did before, is I want to share my journey. And I'm hoping that this narrative stimulates conversation and impresses upon people how deeply personal this is and how random it can be, because it is random. So let's go back. As I've said before, my surname is Blackhawk, and that was a direct reference to my high school mascot because I was part of the founding of my high school. And not long after I decided on my name, I just knew that with a name like Blackhawk, a black raptor-like visage was going to be part of my arms. For me, that was never not an option. Now, I also know, I remember Emma de Featherston talked to me repeatedly about you don't have to include a hawk. It's not required. It's nice. It's cool, but don't feel like you have to. And I fully understood that there were no rules in the society or the kingdom or the local group or whatever that required me to register arms with a black hawk on it. I required a black hawk on my arms. That was just it going in. Partially because of my name, partially because that early phase of my life, part of my identity still very much was this idea of invoking my high school. Because I still was very proud of a lot of what we had accomplished in the founding 4 years of my high school. Now, it's totally separate from all that. One of the earliest things I made in the SCA was I got some time on a sewing machine at a friend's place, and I stitched together a bunch of things of fabric to make kind of a mantle cloak for myself. And by happenstance, because I screwed up one of the cuts, instead of 4 different color just stripes of fabric, or 4 different stripes of fabric, the last 2 accidentally cut into triangles. Long story. So I wound up cutting 2 more triangles. So at the end, it was a red triangle and a white triangle, and against a red, it kind of looked like this red triangle radiating out from the base of the shape. And someone had commented, wow, that's a really cool design. You ought to consider putting that in your heraldry. Okay, that wasn't the worst idea in the world. So I came up with this idea of, today we would call it a gyrony of 4, but it was this idea of a burst ray coming out the base of your charge, it's 4 triangles. And it's a white triangle, a red triangle, a white triangle, and a red triangle. And over that would be a black raptor. Submitted it. And that submission took forever. I legit want to say it was 2 years. Might have been 19 months. Don't quote me on that. But it got shot down because between when I submitted it and when it got reviewed, it had been determined that the gyrony of 4 was not a historical pattern. It wasn't one that they used. Okay, it sucked. I wasn't thrilled with it, but okay, back to square one. And I let that languish for a while. I just was not in any hurry to register my arms. And I want to say it was my junior year. I wound up reaching out to one of the local heralds in my group, Emma de Featherston. Now, Mistress Emma de Featherston, who has just stepped down as Laurel Sovereign at Arms, if that gives you an idea of the trajectory of her career. And I'm like, okay, I need to register arms. And I don't know anything about arms. I don't speak Blazon. Help. And she said, okay, how about I come up with some ideas and you take a look and tell me what you like. Okay, perfect. That lets her do her thing because she loved using clip art and graphic software to piece together arms. And this was before the internet was the thing it is today with all these online arms tools. And I would get to react to things that are in an environment that I'm good with visual environments, but if we were to sit down and talk and I were to describe what I wanted, I am acutely aware that you're not going to visualize what I'm visualizing, and if you try and describe what you're visualizing, I'm really not going to follow you. So pictures all the way. And a few days later, she got back to me by email and said, here's 6 arms. I've checked all of them. They should all be conflict free. Tell me what you think. And I looked through them, and one of them, I remember looking at it. It had a eagle. I don't know the postures. I still don't speak Blazon, but the eagle was pretty much just standing there upright. And by the way, I say eagle because it is a heraldic eagle. There's no such thing as a heraldic hawk. A raptor is a raptor is a raptor. That's the way heralds deal with this. I'm not crazy about it, but it's the way it is. But it had this, I believe it was this hawk just standing upright, and the border was insanely busy, and there was lines everywhere. And she even said, yeah, this looks a bit busy. And I'm like, you think? Like, okay, thank you. Very nice. We're moving on. There was another one where the border, it was a complex border, and I were looking at it, and I felt like the border just distracted too much, because that one, the raptor was displayed. It was head turned sideways, wings out, talons out. I like the display of the bird, but the border was just so complicated. I just like, no, this distracts. I'm trying to decide, am I supposed to look at the border? Or am I supposed to look at the hawk? No. There was another one where it was quartered. Wasn't crazy about that one. There were a couple, and then I came to one, very, very simple, and it had the chevrons on it. Now, chevrons were very important to me, not specifically the chevrons, but the chevron shape is one of those shapes you learn at a very early age to recognize when you're a military brat, like I was. And I recognized the chevrons. These were the exact same geometry that the United States Army, the United States Air Force, the United States Marine Corps have been using for literally a century and a half, century and 3/4 at that point, or whatever it was, to denote enlisted ranks. So I just liked that. I liked the invocation of rank. Not so much that they would give the wearer rank, but it was a simple shape that was evocative. It was clear, it was vibrant, and they were red on a white background. And there was nothing else going on around them. There was just two red chevrons and a white background. And I remember, before my eyes even tracked to the rest of the shape, I remember seeing the red chevrons, and I remember thinking, red is a beautiful color. It's a stark color. It's a eye-catching color, and the chevrons are evocative of rank and prestige in my mind. And it's a very distinct shape. You're not going to mistake it for just stripes or a zigzag or a crenellation or anything else. It's chevron, and most people are going to look at it. They're going to know what a chevron is, even if they don't know what a chevron is. They could draw you one. So I liked that. And then it had the displayed raptor. It had the bird, with the wings out, and it had the head turned sideways and the mouth open and the claws displayed. And it was gorgeous. And I looked at it, and it was, grand scheme of things, it was one of the simpler designs of the selected heraldry. Now let's be clear, no artist is going to call anything involving a displayed raptor simple, because you're drawing all the feathers and the tail and the talon. I mean, that's a complex shape. So I don't want to say it was a simple design. But compared to some of the other options she had thrown up there, it was much simpler. I just liked it. It was clean. And it was, again, it was evocative. It was, the raptor was the same posture used on so many national emblems, so many military emblems. I mean, the eagle, globe, and anchor. The emblem of the United States Marine Corps, which, yes, my father has one over his home office, referencing his time in the Marines. And it's got a displayed bald eagle on it. So it was very, very welcoming geometry for me. And I said, Emma, I like it. Let's do this one. Register this one. What do I need to do? And she walked me through the process. We tracked down the treasurer at the time and got the checks written. And it was the usual rigmarole. This would have been 2000, probably 2001, I guess. And we submitted it, and it got back to me probably a year and a half later. Finally was registered. Now, to be absolutely fair, I didn't do much with the arms for forever because, again, the internet, and we didn't have camera phones. The internet had not become the visual saturated, the visual medium, the image saturated medium that it is today. So really, heraldic display was reserved for people who could afford to have this stuff embroidered onto their vests or have banners made, stuff like that. And that wasn't me. That wasn't us at the time. Today, I use my arms in social media. It's been my icon several times on several social media platforms. It is it's a signature in several of my email signature blocks. I've done several business card runs where I use it. I don't currently use it, mainly because of more pressing information I need to have on that tiny little card. But I still really liked getting to use it because it looks cool, and if you're handing it to someone outside the SCA, it's definitely an eye catcher. It's a, wow, what is this? And most importantly, because of the balance of it, because of the way it looks, it's very clear this is a Black Hawk. And I modified the drawing a little bit. The original art, the tail was very short, and I actually went in manually when I first got it back from her. And I extended all the tail feathers to make the tail larger, which kind of gives the overall bird different proportions. And to me, it looks more hawk-like. But you can show those arms with almost no context through anywhere in the Principality of Windheim and a good chunk of the central or even southern regions of Onsthiora, and people will recognize it. Now, that kind of leads to another question, and again, this goes back to what I said in my previous video about my name. All of these things were evocative. The raptor, the hawk, is evocative of so many emblems before it. The Marine Corps emblem, the seal of the United States, the Roman Empire. It's that invocation is there, and those emotions are there. The chevrons, the geometry of that does have a very martial feel to it. If you were to show that image to anyone, even someone who doesn't know me, would they have those same invocations? Would they have that same emotional invocation? No, probably not. What those arms mean to the whole of Ansteora wasn't decided by the geometry. With only very few limits, we are free to use just about any shapes or designs we want on there. What those invoke for other people, what those shapes, geometries on my arms mean, is decided by my conduct, my work, my reputation over the past quarter century. And that is why when you show my arms, people associate it with the emotions they do, for good or for bad. I have my detractors, I have my critics, I have my enemies, and that's fine. But the point is that a lot of people, for anything they choose, but relevant to this, for their arms, they want their arms to say something about them, and that's fine, and that's what I did. But understand that all your arms really have to be as distinct. You give them meaning. Is this story useful to you? I don't know, maybe. If you already have your arms chosen, you're probably wondering, why is this relevant? Well, next time you talk to a new member, just keep this in mind. Maybe this will spark some talking points to help you better communicate with them about options for how they go about choosing their arms. Is this useful to you? I hope it is, but really what I want it to be more than anything else is provocative. I want it to provoke thought, conversation, question, challenges. I want to get the gears turning so that the next time you or I have to have the conversation about, okay, it's time to choose your arms. How do you want to do this? We have a few more tools in our toolbox to help spur that conversation along and help guide people to pick arms that are cool and amazing and they can connect to. How did you pick your arms, or what are you leaning towards for your arms right now? What's guiding your decisions if you're at that stage of your game? Talk to me. Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. But until next time, I'll see you at the next event. Goodbye, and God bless. If there are two things I've learned that drive videos these days, it's controversy and engagement. Now, I am never going to fly the controversy flag on a regular basis. It's not what I'm here for. It's not the content I want to make, and I really don't think it helps any of us. But let's do engagement. If you like this video, please go down in the comments and leave a comment. Make sure to share the video. And last but not least, easiest of all, make sure to like the video. That helps drive the algorithm. It helps get the video views and helps promote this material. Thank you very much.